Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes that happens. The broadcast went out. Alright, now back to it. So, now that we have our character, we use the eraser to initialize the in-depth, well, the sort of shading. So, let me zoom out a little bit. Let's click back on. I don't know why it stopped the stream, but stop the stream. But there she is. She has a little bit more depth after you use the shading on her. That's why it's always better to use the same color rather than just use a tint or a highlight. Even though a highlight does help with adding a little bit more of an effect, if that's where you're going. So let's go back to the brush. We're not on the eraser. Okay. So for the brush, we do need to make it a little bit larger. Well, a little bit smaller. So we're going to make this a little bit easier to control. So now we go back over the area that we were being very, very careful with and just add a little bit more. And we will need the eraser once again. But we do want a little bit more darkness underneath, just so that her head actually pops forward in a way that she needs to pop. So, go back to the pen. We do the same thing for anything that's underneath anything at all. So, and we have to be very, very careful not to do it too much to where it's noticeable in a way that, well, anybody would notice. Alright. But there she is. And we go back to the eraser. Carefully. Just to make it very subtle. And if you do want to make your drawings pop, you can use this technique where it doesn't add too much shading, but at the same time it doesn't overwhelm your drawing. Alright, so now we work on, now that we got the skin, we can leave the dress as it is. We will get back to it in a second. But now we go towards the skull here. Since it is more on the lighter scale, we will need to go darker. And the darkness for this one is quite a bit different, because we don't go in the normal way. Well, we still use the same color, but we don't go as dark, because if it's too dark, then people notice that something's different. It just needs to be a slight bit darker. It can't be too dark when you're dealing with something that is practically white. So, let's see. So, we're on the skull mask, and we're just dealing with the mask itself. So, oops. Brush. Okay. Actually, with this, we still have to go darker, but you try. Alright, so for this, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to go a little bit higher. And this part we're just accenting every part of the image. But we don't want to do it on the color because then it just makes it a little bit harder to clean up later. Well, you can just leave it alone later, but still, I would rather prefer not to have it on the same layer. It just makes a headache when you're trying to go back and trying to fix something later. You don't delete one layer, you delete every bit of that color, and it makes it a little bit harder to deal with. So I'm going to make it larger, because we do need it quite a bit larger, but not that large. Sorry. Come on! Alright, let's go to eraser. Pen. Sorry. One moment. Okay. Now, okay, there we go. So, sometimes the pen doesn't work very well. Eraser. Come on. There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Pen. There we are. Sorry. That's what happens sometimes when a program just acts out. It's like, I don't want to be a pen. I don't want to be an eraser. Just want to do my own thing. Okay, good. Alright, now that we have that, we're going to do this right here. Okay, now the eraser. Okay. Either way. And then we go into a pure white for this. And usually with bones, it's easier to go to white than it is to go deeper. Okay. There we go. And for the teeth, I do the same, but I have to make this smaller. It takes a moment. There we go. But for the teeth, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to go 100% on the teeth. Make these a little bit whiter. Alright. And now, to add the final piece. Well, not the final piece. We still have a little bit more cleaning up to do for this. There's a few more parts. I do not know why my stream stopped after a little bit. It's like I was only streaming for 20 minutes and then boom! It's like, let's just stop the stream. He won't notice. I don't. Until I notice. And then I restart it, so there's that. Alright. Let's go to the first layer. Actually, not the first layer, the second layer. And that's the outline. Brush. Sensitivity off, all the way down to black. And now we fill in the gaps. So yeah, let's set hardness 100%. Good. Certain parts, it's just easier to make them all black. I need regular eraser too. So let's put that back to 100% again. Okay. And pen. Brush. There we go. Just adding thicker lines where they're needed. It gives the same effect. So. Well, it doesn't give the same effect. It gives a similar look, but at the same time, it doesn't give that same effect if you were to use shading. Let's see. I'm gonna leave that as it is. So I'd rather add shading on that. But right here needs to be black though. Certain parts just need to be as dark as possible. Right here. Come on. There we go. There would always be some issue, but at least I'm streaming. Hard to say for everything, but okay, everything looks good there. Need to fix that there. So eyeshadow. I'm just gonna erase this just a bit. There we go. And skin. Let's see. Right there, and right there. Whoops. Too much, and you get something wrong. So there we go. And alright, let's go with the lips. So layer 7. We haven't finished it off. And for her makeup, I am going to do it mostly solid this time, but the thing I'm going to do on this one is add a little bit more shading. Still going to use the eraser to get that nice shading look. But also to get that nice corner. There we go. But I'm going to use all solid colors on this one. Okay. Well, all except for the whitest part of this image. So on this part, I'm going to change the flow, keep the opacity at 100% with a feather effect. And there we go. You don't really need to do much on the lips. You just need to add the effect. And then for the eyeshadow, that was for the lips. Layer 7 is the lips, right? Yeah, it's the lips. Okay. Alright, so layer 7, the lips. Then we have the eyeshadow. And to give depth to the eyeshadow, all you need to do is this. And it's not very much. You just need a base color, and you can trick people to think that brush. Well, you can trick a little bit of just having the shading on a different layer to give it that nice effect. That's soft, yet harsh. For the eyeshadow, for the bottom layer you do have to erase it, but top layer you can pretty much keep there. It gives a nice looking effect, if I say so. I wanted to do something. I didn't want the eyeshadow to be left out of all of this. I'm gonna have to fix that though. There's still the matter of the tree. The tree looks a little plain. We're gonna add a little bit further green, more of still of a teal, but let's deal with the earring. So we have the skull mask, we'll leave that as it is. That one's actually done. So for the earring, we're gonna add one more layer because we still need to add one more thing to it. Hardness at 100%. And we're gonna make this a deeper green just so that it's more noticed. It doesn't have to be very, well, it doesn't have to be much of anything. Then we get a different color. We put it on fade. And we put the hardness to 0. Then and I wanted to keep this one clear. So what I'm going to do is a little bit of a trick behind all the colors. Well, the original part of it. So let's go under the first, and we'll just give it a nice transparent-like look. There we go. Then we go back, adjust it, and one on top. I know I should be having these layers a little bit different. Alright, so we'll leave that there. Put that back to 100%. And then put the hardness back to 100% as well. And we go back to this right here. Just add that there. And then adjust every bit of the color here. Okay. Brush. There. We just want to make sure that it's correct. Then we go to more of a greenish teal. Then back to the same effect. And I'm more of just making this a little bit more in a hurry. Okay, that's there. And we adjust the smaller one to be similar, but not the same. It's a little thing. Alright. Now we adjust every layer. Okay, so we got that. That's the top part. That's the layer I need. Okay. Eraser. There we go. So we do have to adjust it this to where we don't have any shadow going outside of their bounds. And there we go. For the most part, that's all that we need to do. We don't really need to do too much on the earring because it is a small piece of the artwork. And I like the way her hair looks. I'm not going to change any sort of bitten piece of her hair. All I'm going to do is add some shading to her hair, and that's the only thing that she actually needs. Just shading. So let's grab these earring. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I spelled it two different ways. Felt with either way. Alright, let's move on to the hair. The last piece. So, with the hair, eraser, pen. Okay. I'm gonna adjust it just a bit. I'm not going to do much with the hair other than add the parts that need it. going to give her more of a depth look to everything that I am adding now. Okay. And we add this right here, behind the ear. I'm gonna adjust the opacity a bit. I don't want it to be too... There we go, that looks a little bit better to me. A bit softer than... which actually gives a nice layer to it too. And now to adjust the eraser just so that it fits within that parameter. So hardness at 0. And make it larger than the brush. Not too large that it overtakes the brush. Damn it. Oh, no, sorry. Let's see. Come on. Size. There we go. Need it at around 300. That's good. We're trying to give that shaded but not overcompensated look. There we go. Same thing with here. We're looking for slightly shaded but not so much that it overtakes it. Same here. Okay. And there we go. So we got every area except for the dress. We're leaving the dress last because we still have one area left to do. The skull mask. So there's still the eye that we need to finish. And then but the best way to figure out what is actually going on with the painting is to actually pick a background. Let's pick Midnight Blue. There we go. Takes a moment, but then we can actually see the flaws. So she looks fine. We just need to fix the mask, as you can see. Everything else can stay. Alright. So we're going to turn off the layers that I don't want to deal with. So we're going to leave this layer on. The dress and everything below it. We're just going to group them together. It'll make it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. We'll just say the main body. It just helps differentiate where and what we're trying to do. So we're going to turn off everything, including the bright spot of the iris, just so that we can see where we need to erase. Alright. So that's what we need. That part I'll deal with in a moment. And then the skull mask itself. So, we just need to erase what needs to be erased. So we put this back on normal, 100% again, and put this to 100% hardness. Brush, and then eraser. We do have to select the layer, that would help. Okay. So, it went pretty far. So we actually have to get rid of quite a bit. If you can mask off the layer, that'd be the better option. There are easier ways within Clip Studio. I would have to find out the ways, but I also need to figure out what type of computer Clip Studio actually agrees with. But even though technology likes me, it loves to show me the flaws. So I don't just see everything working perfectly. As you can see during this first part of the this first part of dealing with this, I had a little bit of an issue. So it's going to be a little bit harder to deal with it later, but I'll more or less fix it all in a later stream video. But I will just name it part 1 and part 2, more or less, just so that people don't misunderstand. Things happen. So, get the iris. Okay. So now that we got that, we need to erase this part. And we got most of it. And I'll leave the teeth like that. I kind of prefer them that way. Alright, so we got that. Got that. Got that. It just blends in. Wait a second, what's this? The imperfections. It happens. Alright, and brush. Make sure to choose the right layer. Okay. Got everything, mostly. We're just fixing in the gaps. So why is it a different color? That's my question. Brush. Okay. Let's try this again. Alright, brush. Okay. There we go. But I didn't update my computer because I was streaming today. And whenever I stream and I update, things tend to not work properly. Like my pin tablet display just doesn't just work. There's still drivers that I would need to adjust it. And I didn't want to do that. The last stream I did that. I had a lot more issues than just the stream just going out. Pen. Eraser. And yes, I switch back between the eraser and the pen quite frequently, so it make it a little bit harder to do that. Okay. I really tax the machine whenever I do this. But I am using a Mac Mini, so I'm not using the most powerful machine out there. It is an Intel machine, and I would love to switch. I'm building on the money front on that to switch to a better machine. A newer screen would help too, but that's another issue that I'm fine with this screen. I just need a new computer that works a little bit faster than this one. But we're all having money issues, unless you're a kid. Then enjoy your life. While you don't have to pay a single bill. But I deal with money, taxes, paying bills, and all that stuff. Yeah, whenever I was a kid, I didn't really... I know the idea of growing up for most people would be a sort of a concept that I would go along with and say, yeah, I want to grow up. I more or less had the feeling of the opposite. I didn't want to grow up completely. I never did, but that's another story. Those who remain slightly childlike are the ones that actually have more fun, though. If you don't have your inner child, then who are you? You have to still be an adult, but be somewhere in between. Not quite child, not quite adult. Yes, I'm getting rid of all the pieces that I missed last time. But, alright. There we go. Yeah, I know. People come on the stream and say, what is he doing? He's just coloring in. Yeah. Alright. So, almost there. We are almost done with this. Just a few more final touches. There's some areas that I'm not going to touch because there's no reason to. This is one of them, which if you zoom out far enough you can't see it, so I'm not gonna bother with it. Alright, let's turn on everything else. So there's the main body. So there's our character. We're going to keep her somewhat similar to this. We're just going to add a little bit to her dress and to the skull eye right here. Instead of just the deep red, we're going to add a little bit more texture to it and add a little bit of a sparkle to it. Let's also turn on layer 15. There we go. So, same thing. Get the same color, then just make it darker. Okay, pen. And for this, there's not really much that we need to do for this. We just need to add a little bit more creativity to it. So now we adjust the hardness, the scale. It can't be larger than the iris by too much. You don't want to clean up too much more. And then we go and like this. And then on top of that, that looked nice, but we're going more towards a pin. Actually, no. I kind of like the exclusion, the different exclusion hard mix. Linear light actually looks pretty good to me. And then we just adjust the opacity just a bit. And then, yes, and then, okay, enough of that. We add one more bit, and for an added dose of realism, we put the opacity back down. We adjust this just right. And actually we don't need layer 31. We're gonna just add it to layer 15 up here. Adjust everything back to normal. And hardness at 100% again. And we just add just a bit. So there we go. So that part is done. Now the last part that I'm going to be doing for this is the dress. So the dress is one of the little bit more complicated parts that I'm going to be doing on this. It's more complicated than the hair. The dress is going to pop like nothing else. So the first thing that we need to do, within the color, take off that, go back to the main body, and on the dress itself, we're going to add a few more layers. So the first layer, we're going to do a crazy design off of a more like charcoal-like brush. And we're going to take the color of the dress, put it as a darker color, and brush. Okay. So, it is small right now. But what we're going to do is make it quite a bit larger. There we go. Adjust the opacity to about 46%. And we're going to do this. This we are going to have to clean up, but it is something that is a little bit nicer to clean up. It's going to take a while for everything to actually show up. So, just okay. So now that we have our splotch pattern, we're going to change the brush back to normal just so that in this process we're not really doing much of anything else. So now we go to the eraser and erase everything but the part that we want on the dress. Normally you would put a mask on that, but I like doing it this way because it's a little bit more fun. Then you can figure out what type of pattern you want. And I do the same thing with the layers. And we're just erasing the rest of this. Some people question, well, everyone has a question. It's like, why am I doing this? Well, the thing is, I clean up every mistake that I do on my artwork. So we can either multiply... Ooh, that actually... Actually, I kind of like that. Color burn. Let me see if there's a better effect. I'm just going through the option. Ooh, that's neon pink. Not so much that. It kind of looks like a... Let's do this just so that I can get rid of that piece right there. But no, we're not doing that. Let's see. No. That doesn't look bad. That's a hard mix. It's a little bit... I may do a little bit more. Divide actually looks pretty awesome too. Let's go with a divide. I'm going to duplicate that. Yes, duplicate the layer. Yeah, sure, we'll call it layer 31. We're not going to divide this time. We're going to go in a color burn and adjust the opacity to sort of give a little bit of both worlds. And we still want the layer to show underneath. So we're going to adjust this in a way where it blends in both. But there's not a way for where it blends in that. I think I know what to do. Alright, so we take both layers, duplicate the dress twice. Put the dress on top of the dress. Combine these two, group. Actually, we make a third copy of the duplicate. There is an easier way. And you could basically change these groups into something else. But we're going to adjust the opacity. Put this one on top. I'm just seeing what effect it sort of has there. So I'm gonna darker color. I'm adjusting these in a certain way where I get both of each, and it ends up a hard mix between the two, because I don't want it to be plain like that. So let's there's not an easy way, is there? Let's see. No, there's not an easy way. So I'm going to put this on darken. And that's usually what... Yeah, without that, that's what it comes out to be, so... Huh. Pickle, isn't it? That makes it darker. No, I think that works. That gives sort of the betterment of both of it. I could just flatten the layers, but the effect is what I want. Alright, now that we have that, the most complicated way to do that. Alright. We're going to shade. Gonna go soft flow of 24. Go to 10. A little bit less flow. Change the... Let's go with a darker... Let's go more right there. Okay. We're gonna need a little bit more opacity than 8. 8's a little bit too low. And we're gonna do lighten. Color dodge. Sure, why not? Eraser on this. Not turning out the way I want. And I want it on this guy right here. Yeah, there are many different ways to do dresses and all that, but I'm doing more of the way where the light refracts on this dress, just in a different light. That is sort of the effect I was trying to go with on this. I will have to delete some areas, but hey. Okay. Because it looks more like she has freckles now. Don't mind the freckles, just... That's not what this one is. It's supposed to be about with the light skin and the dark skin on the same person. I'll most likely do that on a different one. She's going to stay similar. But I think she is pretty much done. The only thing that I will have to do is the background, but let's see, what should we do for the background this time? Any questions, anybody? Of anybody who's watching, that is. I'm gonna follow a similar way on the background. So same with the dress. I'm going to do this. We're gonna do the same color dodge. We're gonna make the pin just absurdly large, and it gives a nice effect. It may take a moment for everything to actually adjust to all bits and pieces. Alright. We'll just wait for that to catch up to all the taps and everything. As we just watch it change. And what we want to do with this as well is add a shadow to her. And I don't like dealing with shadows in the first place, so what I do after everything is done and shaded and all that, I take the color with the outline, with every other element of the character itself. Oh, it's done. Good, good. And I just add a shadow through the simplest of means on that. So I take that, and that, and I just group that all together and say character. And there we go. We got the character, we double click on it, and we add the drop shadow. That's a little bit dark for the drop shadow, so we adjust it to the right angle. We don't want too much of a silhouette. Turn the opacity a little bit more on. Distance a little bit further away. And we adjust the angle to just slightly this way at 47 degrees. Size a little bit smaller. So we do need to erase something. So we look at the character. Say okay on that. Okay. So there is something on the character that we need to erase. And we need to look for it. So in the color, is it skull mask? It is the skull mask. So we just have to figure out which layer has the extra bit and piece that we need to get rid of. Of course, not that. Layer 16. Alright, eraser. But this is also another way to find what you're missing on any sort of drawing, or fix some areas that kind of just didn't have careful cleanup on it. Okay. I think we're good there. We don't want it to be noticeable, so now that we've fixed all of that, we turn back on all the color. There shouldn't be any other parts of the color that stand out way too much, but there are. So we have to find that and adjust that again. So, of course, it's usually the layer that we just finished adjusting. That's the hair, the skin, all that stuff. But it is probably the skin right here. That's part of it. So that was part of it. The second part is the actual dress. So on the dress itself, yeah, it's there too. So we got that, sort of. Okay. And this part right here. Okay. The last part. There's still bits and pieces everywhere. Right here and right here. That should be everything that was well missed for the most part. There's still bits and pieces everywhere, but this part really makes it show, so I'm gonna just erase that. Alright, that should be good. Alright, so now we have the character, the background, and we are pretty much done. So the last part is the signature, and the signature is the mark that, well, says that this is mine. But for real though, signature, everybody places it in a certain way. I go more towards the easier route and try to hide it, or try to make it one of the hardest things to remove. So I usually put it in a place where it's a little bit more complicated to even take out. Oops, still on fade. Alright, above a character, one layer. And make sure everything's back to normal. Okay. Adjust it, move it, position it, and kind of like that, inverted. And then after that, opacity. Invert, but fade. Squeeze it in. make it a little bit harder to see. But there we go. Nice and signed, and it is done. She more blends into the background, so I'm going to adjust that a little bit by just changing the background color. So with this, I just the layer. Let's see, filter, blur, liquify. No, I just want to change the color. Image adjustments and hue and saturation. Change the hue to something else. No, it's more purple. Red just completely takes over. That one doesn't look too bad. It at least brings her forth a little bit more. Saturation. Lightness. Yeah. That looks a little better. Yeah. Probably because her hair is one of the harder things too. Yeah. Red's gonna have to do. It's like one bloody night. Something transposed, and splatter of blood was over the whole dress. At least it added to the design, but there's nothing left but a bloody body on the floor. Alright, enough of that. Alright, we got everything set, and this is done. So, we're gonna save it, and I am having I'm going to the art walk on Tuesday, so this will be one of the things that you can buy. And I do have other images that I will be printing out, and I will take to the art event as well. It is in Longview, Texas. If you want to drop by and buy something, each of my bookmarks are $5, and each of my 11 by 14 posters are $20 a piece. And hopefully, if you stop by, thank you, and thanks for your patronage. If you don't, still, it'd be nice to see anybody who wishes to stop by. Alright, let's move on to stage 2. The document camera. Alright, so these were from the last couple of times. Sorry about the mess. Kind of got turned a little bit. No, I kind of like it like that. Alright. Now, whenever I start to sketch, I mostly think of women when I'm sketching. It is just my natural process of trying to think of what to draw. I don't really think of men too much, but whenever you're trying to look for more of a comic book feel, you actually want to look more towards the men side of things, because that's how you actually get the angles that you want for the character. So whenever you're thinking about female, you actually think about male first, and then draw the sketch of the female character later, in order to get that comic book feel. And sometimes you just take that, change the chin, and you can get a female out of a male silhouette. It always depends on how you break everything down. And for the smile, you actually just have to do a little bit on the smile. And then when you're making the mouth, you put it to a point. Sometimes you just want to give the character a little bit more depth in how you actually create her or create him, whichever drawing you actually prefer to draw. And I'm just drawing this under a camera. So, and then from here you take the neck and make it smaller. So you take the large neck and just make it really small. Well, women actually have a thinner neck for the most part. There are some women that actually have a large, thick neck, but there are women that are gorgeous that have that neck as well. So, add touches. So this is the center of the eye. So kind of just want the look. And whenever I'm drawing anything, I tend to go towards this type of eye and then adjust it. And then draw a dark line around it. Above, and the eyebrow. And then we have to adjust the ear, of course, or we just don't draw it. So we skip out on the ear itself. But whichever way you wish to draw anything. And most of these are sketches. But there we go. But let's move back to the tablet for a moment. So this is the final painting. Move this over a little bit. There we go. Alright. But this is the final painting. There are a few things that I am working on. I am working on one more painting, and it is well, I can show you it in a little bit. I can actually send it. But this is one of my most recent paintings that I've done. I haven't posted it on social media yet. Let's just bring it to my computer real quick. It may take a moment. Or not. Alright. There we go. Okay. File. And I deal with crypto as well, so any bit of income I can receive, that's the income that you want. Alright, so enough of that. Let's go to downloads. Alright. There it is, okay. Let's just open this. Of course the colors aren't correct. Nothing I take of any of my paintings, the colors will be correct. It never has been. I've tried. I always have to adjust the colors as soon as I get them. Takes a moment, as you can see. Alright, so let's adjust this. Edit, image adjustments. Let's rotate the canvas 90 clockwise. Whoops, counterclockwise. Image. rotation, counterclockwise. So this is actually what I've been working on for the last couple of days. It is one of my newer paintings. And yes, this is a painting. Most of this is dry brush. Let me adjust the colors because the colors are not correct. Adjustments, levels, and the levels a little bit darker. The red values are just slightly out of whack on this. They're a little bit well, they're a little bit darker like this. And green and blue values are just a tiny bit off. Green, blue, everything's just a bit off. There we go. That's mostly what it looks like. There's a little bit of a difference, but this is actually what I've been working on for the last couple of days. I've been silent, but I'm getting ready for the art event. So this is actually one of my paintings that I've done by using dry brush. And I've been using a dry brush technique to get that look on that hair. But if you do wish to see me, then good with you. But, well, I do hope to see everybody, or I do hope to see a larger audience at the art event. But I hope everybody has a good night, and this is Tech Artist signing off for today. I'm just tired. Alright, have a good night, and a better tomorrow. That's all that we hope, right? Alright, see you guys soon. Thanks for watching, and hope you join on Thursday next time. I won't be streaming until Thursday of next week. And then I'll go back to my normal schedule of Tuesday through Thursday. Alright? Hope to see you guys soon. Alright, bye.